Undoubtedly, you have all heard about TikTok, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You've read about it. You've heard about it. Today, we're going to finally talk about it because it is quite clearly the next big thing. And I'm constantly surprised at how few restaurants are on it, how few restaurants are actually leveraging the attention and the eyeballs that are there on TikTok. Is it right for you? Can you carve out a space? Can you build awareness for your brand? I think the answer is yes on all of those. And again, it is clearly the next big thing. So in today's episode, I'm sitting down with a guy named Matt Kirschner. He runs a small restaurant in the middle of Michigan, and he has become somewhat of a content creator, part of this creator economy. He's an influencer of sorts, and it's helped put his restaurant on the map. All that and more on today's episode of Restaurant Strategy. There's an old saying that goes something like this: you'll only find three kinds of people in the world: those who see, those who will never see, and those who can see when shown. This is Restaurant Strategy, a podcast with answers for anyone who's looking. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Chip Close, and this is Restaurant Strategy, a podcast dedicated entirely to the hospitality industry. We cover marketing, operations, and just about everything in between. Each week, I leverage my 20 plus years in the industry to help you build a more sustainable and a more profitable business. I also work directly with operators all over the world through my group coaching programs to help you address and overcome the specific challenges we all face in our industry. Curious to learn more? Curious to know if coaching can work for you? Then set up a free 30-minute strategy session by visiting restaurantstrategypodcast.com/schedule. Let me show you how simple it can be to run a profitable restaurant. Again, restaurantstrategypodcast.com/schedule. As always, you'll find that link in the show notes. Now, thousands of restaurants across the country use Kickfin to send instant cashless tip payouts directly to their employees' bank accounts the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem. Because let's face it, paying out cash tips to your workers day after day, shift after shift is kind of a nightmare. Tedious tip distribution takes managers away from work that matters. It's hard to track payments, which leads to accounting and compliance headaches. Plus, cash tip outs create the perfect opportunity for theft. And there's never enough cash on hand to pay out those tips. So guess what? Managers are constantly having to make bank runs. Bottom line, there's never been a secure, efficient way to tip out until now. Meet Kickfin. Kickfin is an easy-to-use software that sends real-time, cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts 24/7, 365 days a year. Tipping out with Kickfin gives managers and operators hours back in their day. It makes reporting a breeze and protects your business from mistakes and theft. And guess what? Employees love it, so it's one of the best recruiting tools out there. Best of all, restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds, no hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Get in touch today for a personalized demo and see how restaurants and bars across the country are tipping out with Kickfin. Visit kickfin.com/demo. That link is also in the show notes. Now, as I said at the top, my guest on today's show is a man named Matt Kirschner. He is the owner of Red Naps in Rochester, Michigan. He's got a lot to say about the creator economy, about TikTok, and how you can leverage that to build an audience for your restaurant. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chip, thanks for having me. I've been a long-time listener, so this is it's great. It's actually coming full circle. So I own a restaurant. It's been around for 72 years, and I'm kind of probably the only restaurateur that spent a decade trying to get out of restaurants before he decided to actually buy one. And I know that sounds super silly, but we can get into the grits of it at some point. But pretty much right when the pandemic hit, I was working in fine dining, and I pretty much was like the best described as a gopher. Go for this, go for that. Wherever I was needed the most was like my favorite spot in the kitchen. So I watched like 60 of my friends, coworkers, all get laid off when the pandemic hit. And it was me, like 3 other people, my general manager, my brother, and my kitchen manager were the only people they brought back to run carry out and do that. So I was like, look, if you let me work 7 days a week, I will work it because no one else is hiring right now. So I'm like, I'm gonna just lock this in. And towards the end of it, there was talks about getting reopened in Michigan, and the owner, Bill Cruz, comes in, sees me vacuum out his vents up the top. He's like, who is this kid? And why isn't he in management yet? And I was like, well, you guys offered it to me, but I've always just kind of want to do my own thing. I don't want to do a restaurant, whatever, woo woo. And overheard him talking about potentially buying this little diner next door, 50 styles, burgers and milkshakes. And so I got intrigued. I was like, I kind of slid into the conversation. I was like, look, you're in your 70s. I know for a fact you don't want to run it. I'm happy to do it. This is what I can bring to the table. And, we chopped it up for about a week. And then he's like, well, I'm opening up a restaurant 2 blocks over. I'm going to put my energy into that, but I will introduce you to the owner of this building and the restaurant if you'd like. So I was like, run it. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And that's kind of how I got into that position as far as taking over Red Naps. It was just right place, right time, and good introduction from a fellow or past owner.
Yeah, for sure. So Red Naps is, like you said, a 50s style burger place. Burgers, shakes. Mm-hmm. It had been around a very, very long time. You, over the course of this, through a series of conversations, end up owning it. You take it over and you run it. Talk to me about why you did that, because you said, you made a joke that you spent all this time in the industry, and then you spent a great deal of time trying to get out of the industry only to double down. Talk to me about that doubling down. Why do it?
I was really just looking for my first at bat. I had tried to build an entertainment company before this. I spent 10 years, 12 hours a day, and sometimes 18 hours a day if I was working another job in retail at the time. And so I was just constantly just pushing for something of my own. And it really stems back to when I was 9. My neighbor, Kenny Peller, launched a lemonade stand for me and my best friend. And after 2 hours, we both had $20 in our hand. I looked at him, I was like, this is it, man. This is awesome. So I really took advantage of snow days. I would call like 3 or 4 of my friends and be like, look, I know you guys want to go sledding or whatever, but if all 4 of us get together, I can start knocking on doors, getting us houses lined up. You guys can shovel and meet me steps behind. So we made a lot more money than if it was just me running out there doing it by myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we'd always just go and buy candy or whatever it was at the end of it. But I always ever since those key moments, I was like between 9 and 12, I just started doing a lot of that. And that's what inspired the entertainment company. I was like, oh, this is it. This is my thing, right? I love music so much and recording and all this. And I spent a lot of time failing. But it's like everything I learned from that taught me what I needed to for the restaurant. So I fast forward to when I was like 22, I worked at a pizzeria. I went from making salads. After about 3 months, they put me to manager, and then I was general manager by the end of it. I went through 3 ownership changes. I watched 3 people fail, but also those 3 failures also taught me a lot of what not to do and what not to operate. So I tried to look at it from more of a positive perspective. And at the tail end of it, I was leaving. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to move on. So they offered me like 5% equity to stay and be operating owner. And after running the numbers, I'm like, this thing's only making like $300,000 a year. What is my 5% going to come out to? And I'm going to be the one here all day. So I thought about it for a few days, and then I said no to them. And I was like, this is the biggest mistake of my life. I just gave up what I wanted to do forever and own my own business. So I spent a few months for that, but it made me just realize that I had to or one door closes, another one opens, right? Because fast forward a few years, that's when this opportunity came up with Naps. But from that Dolly's experience, I was like, if I ever have an opportunity in front of me, I will just go all in. I won't let it slide again. I'm just going to trust my gut and run with it. And,
but you can't hold yourself, you can't beat yourself up on that. It was a bum deal. And I think you're looking out for what's the input and what's the output? What am I going to be putting in? Is that going to be worth what I'm going to get out? I mean, no is a really powerful word, especially when we're doing it out of respect for ourselves and our time and what we really want to accomplish. Because had you said yes to that, there's lots of other things like the deal that came your way that wouldn't have come your way, or you wouldn't have had sort of the bandwidth to consider it. So I think there's Derek Sivers always talks about that. Like, it's either a hell yeah or a no. And
For sure.
And I've gotten that resonates with me, and I've gotten better at doing that. Like, when you get to the place where you can say, yeah, hell yeah, I'm all in on this. No becomes a really powerful thing because it protects all of those other opportunities that you'd otherwise miss. And I think a lot of people in this world miss opportunities, miss moments in life, all of that, because they say yes too many times. So, and surely you're aware of that at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like a lot of reflection from there. I'm like, starting to have these realizations, like the no thing you're talking about right now. I'm just now like starting to implement no, because I've just always said yes, 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 yes. And it's opened up a lot of opportunities and things stem from it. But I think you're right. The real power is being able to say no, because then you can be intentional about what's the next thing that I got to do too.
Yep, for sure. So listen, what I want to drive towards here, and so anybody who's listening to this interview so far, I appreciate you sticking with us so far. Matt is a really interesting guy, and I want to make sure we get to the point. The main reason why I wanted to set up this conversation is that he took over this very old, sort of classic brand that had maybe gone stale. And I want to talk about what it was, because it's very different than what it is. And I want to talk about how you held onto the core and how you helped it develop into something for a new generation to enjoy. You put it on a map, and you put that brand on the map in a way that that no one before you had thought of. Specifically, I want to get into really talking about your social media strategy. So I want to build to that, and I want to talk about short form video content. And we're talking about right now Instagram, Facebook, and specifically TikTok. We're talking about Reels. We're talking about organic, native content. And you have sort of reinvented the brand through that. So I want to drive to that. I don't want to get there just yet, but I want the listeners to know sort of where we are, where we're going to be talking about it, because when you hear the numbers of what Matt has done in a relatively short time, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to hopefully open up your eyes so that you see that really anything is possible. Talk to me about this brand. You took this over because you had a desire to own something. Talk to me about where the brand was when you took it over, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
For sure. Yeah, it was definitely going negative direction pretty much for the last 8 years.
Okay.
When I took over. So I had their last 5 years of sale to go based off of, but I also went based off of the people in the town and what they said and listening to them. So it wasn't in a fantastic spot. But my thing was, okay, it's nostalgic. People live off nostalgia, right? Because I'm a collector. And you can see behind me, I got Pokemon cards. I got all types of stuff because that was nostalgic to me when I was a kid, having these Pokemon cards. And it just brings you back to a different time. And I believe that holds true across the board. So I had this awesome nostalgic place with not the best reputation. So instead of doing what they did and doing what everyone else was telling me to, bring in a young staff so you can pay them cheap and you don't have to do that. And I was like, well, this place is already known for not being the best. I don't want to come into it not being the best. I want to be the best this place has ever been before. Mm-hmm. So I took all my people with me from fine dining that were sick of the culture over there. My brother's best friend. So all total in this tiny 1,500 square foot restaurant, I got 65 years of fine dining experience. Yep. Pushing out burgers and milkshakes and coming up with new recipes and stuff like that. But that left me to my front end. And I got really fortunate because the majority of the servers that they already had wanted to come back. I called them. I said, this job's available if you want to come and meet, whatever. So I had 12 servers right out the gate, which was absolutely massive. Kitchen staff, on the other hand, was just me and my brother in the kitchen for the first few months. So that was fun. But, we built up an amazing team since then. I haven't had to be in the kitchen since those first few months. But so I think it's a combination of, willing to pay people more for a job, because that's kind of where our culture is as far as cooking. I think you can agree people are getting paid more now than they ever have, which is good.
I do see that as a good thing.
I think it's great. Absolutely. So I did that in the kitchen, and then the front end, I just focused on stop looking at this as a transaction and look at it as building a relationship. So if you ask any of my front of the house, I'll say, we do not sell food. And they'll finish with build relationships or build memories. They'll say one or the other two, and either way is fine with me because it leads to the right point, right? We're here to connect with people and get to know them, get to know their dog's name and whatever. So I just put a hyper focus on that specifically, so that way when people walked in, it was more of a fine dining experience than it is what they used to get. So we started disrupting a lot of like the people that have been coming 40, 50, 60 years that still come in all the time still. Like our core regulars are regulars that they accumulated a long time ago, plus our new ones now. But it's just putting a focus on that. And I think the buzzword obviously right now is culture, but that was my sole intention walking into this place, was to build something where people wanted to be, not where they had to be. Because every restaurant I ever worked at, more people were like, well, I have to be because the money's better here, or I had to be here because and it's just like, I don't know. I didn't want that. I just wanted to take everything I learned from all my past leaders, grab all the good stuff I liked the most, and all the stuff I hated that I couldn't stand, I just washed it under the rug. So I'm definitely, go ahead.
Yeah, no, let me stop you right there, because I do, culture is the buzzword, and culture has been sort of the whole ball game for me for as long as I've been doing this. And I think anybody who's been around long enough certainly knows the importance of that. We could talk a lot about culture, but I always joke around. I say, culture isn't created at the pre-shift meeting, right? We always sit around and say, hey, guys, we really want to see some good teamwork out there. I want everybody, working, helping each other out, okay? All right, guys, go. Have a good shift. Well, I talked about teamwork, and I spoke about it in a motivating way. So teamwork is part of our culture, right? No, not so. You have to make it specific. You have to make it actionable and easy for people to put teamwork front and center. And I talk a lot about how when I build my figure eights for the service teams, I sort of build teamwork into it. Famously, when I train bussers at the fine dining level, because oftentimes those are your really green people. They've never done it. It's totally possible for them to succeed. You just have to give them the tools to succeed. And I always say, and I take this when I go and consult and coach, and I say, the figure eight I want to teach, that I want to teach a busser, is bread, water, clear, reset, help. So those are the 5 things they have to focus on. Make sure everybody has bread, everybody has water. See if you can clear anything. See if anything needs to be reset or marked for the next course. If all that stuff is done, you go see who needs help. You go check that person and that person and that person. Go check the bar. Go check the kitchen. Go. So that teamwork is 20% of their time. 20% of their time is being spent asking other people if they need help, and they do that all night long. And I've guaranteed that's how I've baked teamwork into the culture of what we do. So talk to me about how you think about culture and how you've managed to instill that in your place.
I boil it down to 3 simple rules. Don't lie to me, don't steal to me, and take care of each other. Okay. If you lock in those things, then you're totally good. You'll be locked in forever. And the only reason I've had to let go of people is for that reason. It's because they weren't willing to help their team out in a facet like the rest of them, right? And I basically let them set the mold, right? Does this person fit the mold? I talk to them individually. Do you feel like this person is hitting up to our standards? Things like that. And, if it's a group decision that nobody wants there and they're the best server in the world, I don't care. You can go somewhere else, because you need to be able to fit the mold that we have here, and it's just family based. We take care of each other when one is down.
Yeah. So then talk to me about how, when you took over, how much of this, you make it sound so easy, and I think anybody who's been in ownership or even been an operator for any considerable amount of time knows that it doesn't happen easily. And you now took over this place a couple of years ago. So talk to me about your evolution. The beauty of this podcast is that nobody finds this show accidentally. They're all owners, operators, people who are really in the trenches doing this, so we can speak candidly about it, and I think that's what the audience really appreciates. So talk to me about your own evolution there. How did you come up with your 3 rules? How did you get people on board with that? How long did it take to get everybody sort of in the boat rowing the same direction?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the way I instilled it was I was just very intentional from the beginning. Like I said, I wanted to be a place where people wanted to be and not where they had to. So those kind of core principles they just were kind of there, I guess, from the gate. And the blessing that I've had is I don't really have any turnover. The turnover I have is I got 6 students that left last year to go to college, and all 6 of them want to come back for every break that they're on. They've given me their availability, a year ahead of time type stuff. Yep. So it's like, I don't know. I guess I just made sure that I got this. Okay. So basically at the beginning, since I didn't really know what I was doing. I just spent all the time hanging out with them and like getting to know them and learning our systems and developing our systems. So I think maybe that is probably a good portion of it. I just spent a lot of time with them. I was there 100 hours a week, man, for a year and a half.
Yep.
And, now I got to the point where I'm down to 60 hours and I could do 30 if I want. I could rearrange it however I want it, but I still want to be there because I want my team to know I'm there. I want the guests that are coming back for us now, not just the nostalgic naps. We have people coming for us, and I know that. I want them to know that I'm still here, that I still care. So yep. I think that's it in a nutshell.
So we met on Clubhouse. I know you were a listener and we had connected and we were talking about Clubhouse and sort of other social media out there. For anybody who doesn't know, Clubhouse is an audio listening app. It's a community-based thing. There are different rooms. You have different conversations. I was on there for a while, hosting a bunch of rooms, and sort of I got pulled in a couple of different directions, and I'm certainly not on it in the same amount that I was, but technology, and this is a long way of saying that technology, and certainly the social technology that we have available to us now, is sort of top of mind for you. So talk to me about that and how you made a decision really early on to put that really front and center, at least as far as awareness. How do we raise awareness for your brand? Talk to me about how you began to develop that and how you think about sort of social media as part of your marketing strategy.
For sure. Yeah. I think this is going to be a fun part for me. We're going to get to really go deep. Yeah. So 8 years ago, I was using a flip phone and I said, I will not be on Instagram. If you want to text me, you can call me and talk to me. I was totally against all things social media and everything. I was literally had a flip phone. Everyone had an iPhone. I was just like, whatever, I don't care. So I had a moment in that 8 year time frame. I'm sorry about if you can hear the dogs going crazy right now. I had a moment in that time frame where I realized how important it was for business. So September of 2017, I discovered podcasting, and I thought Entrepreneurs on Fire with John Lee Dumas was the only podcast out there. I was the only one I could find. So I just listened to every single episode. And then I happened on a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never resonated with a human being more. And at the time, I didn't know what marketing was. I didn't know social media. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I listened to this guy and I just had this moment. I was like, I need to do this. I've talked about building my own business forever. I need to learn this stuff. So I started running some Facebook ads. I started playing around in the back end, and I just started diving deep into it. I'd learned as much as possible. It's as silly as it sounds, but scrolling and watching, if you do it intentionally, you're studying how other creators are doing it so that you can make it your own. So I spent a lot of time scrolling and endless scrolling to get to this point. And so when I opened Naps, it was natural for me to go, actually, this is a good story. I'm gonna lead this in because this will be good for other restaurateurs that have a person like this in your company running your marketing. So I was working at the Chop House, the Rochester Chop House, and I was like, I feel good. I know that I can start running ads, right? So I went to their head of marketing. It's a corporate setting. I was like, look, let me run these 3 short videos. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what we'll do. I will give you $100 of my own ad spend to just let me play. And she totally shut me down. They tried to reenact something with my scripts. They tried to reenact something similar. It did I think maybe 1,000 views with their paid, which is, not great. So anyways, so she denied me and I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I know that this stuff works. So when Red Naps launched, I'm like, I'm going all in on this thing. Started posting. Now, going all in at that time was posting 3 times a week. And I was like, here's me cleaning and here's this. And it was a lot of just stumbling and figuring it out. But then I decided, I see all these people trying to get famous people's attention online by running these series. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get Gordon Ramsay's attention. So I was like, I'm going to tell my staff, I was like, look, I'm going to get him to call me a donut. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, you're going to get Gordon Ramsay. Okay,
I'll pause you right here real quick because on TikTok, if anybody doesn't know, Gordon Ramsay's on TikTok and he does these stitches where you take an existing video and you shoot a video alongside of that. And famously, Gordon Ramsay stitches together other content creators making really weird, awful stuff. And The whole goal is to like impress him. If it's weird and gross, he'll tell you. He's like, oh no, stop it, don't do that, don't. It's his whole shtick. It's his whole sort of identity on TikTok. And then every once in a while, you actually sort of impress him, and he's like, don't do that, don't do. Wait, oh, whoa, look at that now. Okay, I'm impressed. In any event, that's sort of like his thing. So when you say you were trying to get his attention, you wanted him to stitch together something using your piece of content.
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect.
So I was not posting, like I said, I was posting like 3 times a week. We were getting a little bit growth. I think I was at like 6,000 followers at the time. So I was like, okay, we got something, but I need to be consistent. I hear from everybody because I study entrepreneurs every single day for a minimum hour a day, because if you want to be the greats, you got to study the greats. So I'm listening. And I'm listening to consistency. So I'm like, all right, bet I need a series. Do this Gordon Ramsay thing. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. 63 days into this series, I'm sitting there laying down on TikTok, and then I see my face pop up next to Gordon Ramsay. I was like, oh,
so talk to me.
so
then talk about the series. Okay. So you said, hey, I'm going to do it with consistency, regularity, if not frequency. The consistency was there, and then you decided to do this series. Explain what the series is that you started in an effort to get his attention.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a good example too. So what I did was I used an opening hook, and in short form content, you want a good hook because you got about 3 seconds to captivate somebody's attention. So my hook was, this is day 1 of putting weird things in burgers until we get Gordon Ramsay's attention. Great. So I would literally stuff gummy worms inside burgers because when I cut it open in the cross section, it was just gooey everywhere. I ate every single one too. So if you go back and watch in this series, there was some really gross ones that I did on like people's requests, because another good way to implement your content is when someone comments and was like, oh, try this peanut butter and jelly burger, putting them on there and makes them feel more connected and at home. And so like I did a lot of that too. And that's how I started building this audience. So we went from like 6,000, and then I had a video hit 1 million. I went from 6,000 to 15,000 followers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got my first 1 million views. Like like I said before, I've been trying to create content my whole life. Before it was music, and now it's, video. But, I had that click moment. It was amazing. So I was like, okay, series works. What else can work?
Yep.
But I was so stuck in I don't know what to do. I don't know. And I'm so busy worried about running this business. And so I didn't have my full time allocated, into it. So I had the consistency down, and then now I'm posting 1 time a day, but I'm like, okay, I need to do more. Like it has to be something else. So through the Gordon Ramsay series, after all said and done, we got to 89,000 followers, and then I was stuck for like 6 months.
And this was on TikTok specifically?
Just TikTok, right?
So did you have a presence, and do you have a presence on Facebook and Instagram as well?
Yeah, I was posting all the same videos and getting no traction.
Okay.
This is the most beautiful time in internet history and influencer history. It's the TikTok-ification of every single platform. So up until about a month ago, I was nothing. I had 300 followers on Instagram. I had 100 followers on YouTube. I had like less than 1,000 followers on Facebook, but my page was at 100K and on TikTok. And so I'm starting to push this content, and then all of a sudden my reels start hitting, and then my YouTube starts growing, and then my Facebook starts growing, and then I'm like, oh, something's happening right now. So I'm starting to read in the back end of YouTube's what they're doing, what Instagram and Meta is doing. And I'm reading through all this stuff and realizing they are now doing content based on merit. So if you create good content, it will now be shown regardless. They just opened up, just like TikTok's algorithm, all the platforms are playing. So let me tell you, in the last 60 days, I went from that 100 subscribers on YouTube to now we're just under 10,000. By the end of the year, 100% we'll hit 10,000 on YouTube. Just under 3,000 on Instagram, which, like I said, we were stuck at 300 for the longest. 15,000 on my personal page on Facebook and 2,000 on the business page. Both the same content. I just roll them over. It works, so I run with it. Yep. And now Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are all going to be paying for short form content. So, if you would have asked me a few months ago, I would have said none of my pages have any growth. And now I can say that every platform is open for the taking. So start today and start consistently.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's talk about how you start, and let's talk about doing consistency. Specifically, right now, it's about short form video content, right? You can put pictures on there, but they're not getting the kind of attention, the traction, and the reach then the videos. All the platforms want video right now. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, for sure. That's literally what they said in all the scripts. You go to YouTube and you look up their new releases and all the stuff about shorts and everything like that. It says we do not favor pictures anymore. We only favor, like Instagram only favored reels now. Pictures are cool, but they're dead basically.
Yep.
I read an article in 2015 that said that by 2022, over 85% of the internet will be strictly video.
That's right.
And I would say that it's probably more now, to be honest with you. So it's video rules a day.
Great. So then let's talk about this, because still, I mean, it's hard, right? So here's the hard part. I can remember back 2015, 2016, 2017, it was hard just to take photos on a consistent basis and post them on a consistent basis. It's how I started my agency when I started doing marketing for restaurants, right? They needed high quality content on a consistent basis, and I was able to provide them with that because I was a professional photographer and I knew enough about marketing, and I was putting all that together. Now the challenge is that that's not enough, and in fact, that's not even what people should be doing. People should be doing video, and video is harder, more time consuming, more expensive to a certain degree, simply because it's harder and it takes more time, and yet that's the whole ball game. POPMENU has reimagined the restaurant. They're breaking the mold of the menu, taking the kitchen doors off the hinges, and serving up their most comprehensive technology solution yet. It's called POPMENU Max. It comes with the previous ingredients that we've talked about here on this podcast. Websites designed with SEO in mind, marketing tools to keep you top of mind with guests, and of course, the patented interactive menu technology. This new recipe brings automated phone answering, third-party online order aggregation, wait listing, and more to the table. POPMENU's phone answering technology, for example, has your ringing phones covered. With artificial intelligence, the simple questions that keep your phone line tied up can now be handled without pulling a staff member from your in-person hospitality. No more missed reservations, asking for your hours, or missed revenue, and that's just the beginning. You have a passion for food, POPMENU has a passion for technology. Together, it is a recipe for restaurant success. Now, even more digital ingredients are in their technology pantry, and POPMENU is helping restaurants attract, engage, remarket, and transact with their guests on a whole new level. Trust me, if you're a restaurant owner, you need POPMENU to take your business to the next level. From limited time only, get $100 off your first month, plus you lock in one unchanging flat monthly rate. Go to popmenu.com/restaurant strategy to claim this offer. That's $100 off your first month at popmenu.com/restaurant strategy. Again, popmenu.com/restaurant strategy. That link is also in the show notes.
So let's talk about batch contenting. So this is a way that you can create a bunch of content in an hour span. So you spend an hour filming 7 to 9 to 12, however many you can get in that hour. I usually shoot for about a half hour and get 7 videos. And then editing time on that, depending how hard I want to go on it, doesn't take that much time either. I mean, you can break it down to maybe 10 minutes or less per video, because the cool thing, download CapCut, it's free. It's one of the best editing softwares for mobile. That one, the cool thing about it, it's got everything you need from a professional video and audio standpoint. One thing that is going to help you get the ball rolling and get started, is first of all, nobody's probably gonna be watching at the beginning anyways. Like that was my theory. No one's gonna be watching anyways, so just keep pushing stuff out until you figure it out.
Yep.
But also, you know, as far as like just starting goes, sorry, I lost my thought on that one.
No, you talked about batching content and getting started, right?
Yes.
So batch content, so it's you compartmentalize your time. So hey, this is the time I'm going to create content, and just start posting it with regularity, and understanding that people aren't going to watch it all in the beginning. No, you're going to have no audience, but do it
so you have
anyway.
some time to figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that lets you off the hook.
Figure it out.
I think that's right. So then talk to me about how, because you make it sound so easy. Hey, we went from 1,000 to 6,000 to 100,000. How did you not that I want everyone to say, oh, that's what they did, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but talk to me, I guess, less about what you did, and I hope you do share some background about what you did, but talk to me about the thought process and how you approached the content creation specifically for TikTok, because that's the one that grew so quickly.
I think a big thing is to never get stuck, because what I did was I got stuck in the series mindset.
Yep.
So I did the Gordon Ramsay series. It worked. So I was like, cool, let's do Guy Fieri. And then, oh wait, if I get enough attention, Guy Fieri can come out to the restaurant because I'm a diner. He does his, DD&D thing. And I got stuck in that, and I realized I just didn't like making content like that. And I'm just doing it to get attention. And sure, it's growing a little bit of audience, but it's not what I enjoy to do. So I sat down and I reflected, okay, what else can I do? And I'll give all my sauce. I think there is no original ideas anymore. It's just taking an idea and putting your twist on it. That's basically right. Same thing with restaurants, been done the same way forever, whatever. So content is the same thing. So if you go to any one of these social media platforms, there's a search bar. Okay, these are social media platforms, but more importantly, they're search engines. So in the search column, I'll just give you TikTok an example. You can go search. You can go type in food. You can go type in the last 7 days and the most viewed. So that right there is going to give you in the last week, what is the most viewed content related to food? And then just go study those videos, learn those videos, watch what they're doing. These people use voice overlay. These people don't use voice overlay. Make it your own. Just kind of take from that. So I'm going to give a shout out to Taylor Chip, because they gave me the inspiration for this awesome video idea. They would go out and they would have a box of cookies. Their whole thing was just cookies. They'd say, hey, would you like to try a cookie for an honest rating review? Just random strangers on the streets. And I'm like, oh, that looks so cool. I want to do that too. So I launched that milkshake series, and people are obsessed with it. Like my buddy from, like, I'm down here in Michigan, my buddies at the top. Oh, me and my girl sit down and watch your milkshake videos. They're awesome. Like, just because you're just like real reactions, real honest rating reviews.
So tell people, explain to people what these milkshake videos are for people who have never come across. We're going to include your links so people can go check it out, and I hope they do. Hope they hit pause, go check out your stuff, come back. But for those who are driving, who are working out, who can't stop and go check it out, explain what the milkshake videos are.
Yeah, so I mean, I could go all in, have this nice decked out cooler, but I just decided to keep it low key because I didn't know if it was going to work or not. So I got this little igloo cooler. It holds 6 12-ounce milkshakes in there. I just label the milkshakes, pre-do them, and then I go to Kroger or I go to Target or Walmart, and I just go to strangers. I know this is really weird, but would you be interested in trying a milkshake? And at the beginning, I wasn't saying the name of my restaurant, and people were like looking at me like this weirdo with a cooler full of organs is approaching me, and so it's like, okay, I got to change my pitch a little bit. So I dialed it in. I just walk up. I know this is really strange. I own a restaurant in downtown Rochester. We specialize in burgers and milkshakes. Would you be interested in trying a milkshake on the spot for an honest rating review? You wouldn't believe the amount of people that say, sure, why not? I'm going to trust this stranger with a cooler. But no, it's awesome. I get told no a lot too, and believe it or not, this is why, this is what I was going to say. Quality is subjective to the viewer. So don't think that you're going to be this awesome creative and you're going to dial it in. It's going to be the most perfect video. Some of my videos that have done millions of views, I spent a total of probably 3 minutes filming and editing.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, well, this, I spent an hour editing this one, so that kind of sucks. And that one only did 1,000 views. So quality is subjective to the viewer. So just put out everything. Yep. I put out a series of me getting told no, asking people if they want to try a milkshake, and it did like 200K. I'm like, just from me being told no, people loved it for some reason. So it's like, just put stuff out, it doesn't have to be perfect or prime or anything like that. People are going to like you for you. And people are attracted to people. Like, people are curious about people, and that's what makes it. You see someone on the internet, like, how is this person famous? They don't do anything. It's because they put themselves out there.
So talk to me about some of the other series that you've done over the last couple of years, as you've sort of gotten your feet under you. Talk to me about the series that you did, and if you can, a little bit of background on how you got the idea. You've been really forthcoming with sort of where you got the ideas. So explain, because I think understanding the inspiration behind it will help spark a lot of other people.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you this, my content got stale, and I got to a point where I was just like, I'm doing these series and I don't know what else to do. I got the Taylor chip thing and I was like, okay, now I need to do more. I can't just do this thing forever. Yep. And so I was listening to an interview with Mr. Beast. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's one of the greatest minds of this generation. And so I'm listening to him, and he said, you can only do the same video so many times. And that's when I had done this milkshake video for like 30 videos. And I was like, oh man, like the goat is telling me not to do this. So I sat down and I said, okay, I need new ideas. What are they going to be? So I just did a brainstorming session. And so pretty much every video I put out since the milkshake thing from Taylor Chip is it's been all original. And my goal now is to stay a couple steps ahead of myself. So everything that I'm putting out now, I'm already a few ahead. Yep. So I took the last week or so to just kind of revision, redirect, and do everything. But yeah, some of my other series that stem from that, and actually, I'll tell you one that I'm gonna start that I haven't yet, that I'm pretty confident it's gonna hit pretty hard. So my business is in downtown Rochester. We have this nice little 4-block strip, and the DDA down there does these gift cards. So you can, any business in downtown, they'll reimburse the money from it. So I'm gonna get some of those gift cards. I'm gonna go ask people their favorite restaurant in downtown Rochester. It doesn't have to be Naps, it could be any other business. And when they answer, I'm gonna give them a $50 gift card. And A, I'm providing value. B, it's fun and exciting. Strangers don't expect it, so the reaction is the key part. And see people go like, what? Is this guy for real? Those are the stuff that draw people in, because then you know it's real and authentic because it's just a stranger. So that's one I'm going to do. I got another fun one, and this one hits really hard. I just don't do it that frequently because I just time frequently. When I'm at Naps, I'm like trying to be zoned in. But what I do is I go to people just as they're about finished their meal, ask how everything is, and then I said, how would you like an opportunity to have this entire meal for only $1? And they, what do you mean? So I said, well, if I make a milkshake and you guess the correct flavor, then your meal's only $1 today. And so I started running that series, and people started loving it. So that's cool. That's one that I'll continue. But I want to have say 10, 12 different ideas that I can kind of interchange. Yep. So nothing is the same thing over and over. If you go to my page and you're scrolling, it's not just all the milkshake videos, or not just all, it's scattered. It's all different things. So there's a couple different things. And honestly, like, take those ideas. Like, if you have something similar, just do it. Go on the street. If you got, let's say subs, and you got a high busy area, walk out with little bite-sized samples of stuff and just say, hey, how does this taste? What do you think about this? Go interact with your guests. A lot of them, I don't say most, but I'd say a lot of people, more than you think, are going to be okay with being on camera, because it gives them a little sense of like, oh, like I'm famous, I'm on TV, especially if they know you have an audience already, they're more likely to do it.
So let's just talk logistics here. Yeah. You have a cameraman, camera person.
Me.
Well, but I've seen videos where somebody's obviously with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you get somebody, so logistically, because people are sitting here going like, I'm not creative enough to come up with these ideas. I think of all the objections that people could throw up as to why they're not going to do this. Like, I'm not creative enough to come up with ideas. Obviously, you're sort of parking that one because you're giving people a lot of ideas and you're telling them to just steal yours. Like, oh, I'm not that good on camera. I don't have the time to go do this. People think I'm weird, and I certainly can't afford to pay people to like come behind and film me. I'm sure there are other objections, but those are the big ones that I know people are going to come up with. Talk to me about how people should be thinking about that.
For sure. So this is good. So it's been, I told you the last 2 months is when I started to see all my channels grow. And that's also when my TikTok got stuck at that 90,000 and pushed up to 140,000. So in the last 2 months, that's the growth we've seen with these new content models. And for the first year and a half, I did it by myself on my iPhone, running a business, working 100 hours a week. Okay. So there are absolutely no excuses for anyone to do it. I just happened to be studying this stuff for a few years. Sure, that's a leg up. But realistically, like I said, you just have to start. When you start to learn, you start to come up with ideas. You get creative by being creative, not by sitting there hoping you're creative. You have to put yourself out there. You got to put pen to paper. Yep. As silly as it sounds, is writing on a piece of paper, even just saying, well, I need to start writing. I don't know what I need to start writing about yet, until you actually come up with something. Like, that is a good way to start, So realistically, it's like there should be zero excuses on any of this stuff, because again, I shot everything on an iPhone. I Didn't have any mics at the beginning. 2 months ago, I bought a mic, and 2 months ago, I started asking my wife and some of the people that work for me to come out and film with me. Like, I know this is annoying, but you're already on the clock, so you want to just step out for a minute and come film with me, which is nice about the downtown area because we don't have to go far. I can get 2 or 3 pieces of content shot in 20 minutes. So, there really should be no excuses. And then, like you said, as far as is content, you don't know what to create, start with what I did. Go to my page and just look at all this stuff, try to take inspiration, but more importantly, go to the top trending videos, the ones that are doing the best. I can't say that mine are all doing the best. We put up great numbers, and I'm very grateful for all the people that come, but there are people that are doing it better. So study the greats if you want to be the greats, or I guess really just decide what you want from it, right? For me, like I've always, since I realized how important it is, I've always wanted to build something. I've always wanted to build an audience, a platform to stand on. And so my intention on the gate was to do that, to build it up, right? If you want to just reach 100,000 followers so you can get that one brand deal that pays you an extra $25K a year, like that's cool too. But I think it's smart to be intentional about what you want out of it. And then everything else will kind of just come easier.
Yeah. So let's talk about this, because I think now we get this generational rift. You get the boomers and Gen X, and then millennials and Gen Z. And you're sort of on one side of the divide or the other. And I sort of spent a lot of time. It's fresh in my mind because my in-laws were just visiting us here for the last week, and we get into a lot of conversations about. I said, some of the most famous, wealthy people in the world you've never heard of because you're not on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. It's funny. I had brought up Mr. Beast with him. I was like, do you know who the most famous YouTuber is? And he's like, I don't know if I'd know any of them. I was like, this guy makes more money than you fill in the blank movie star. He makes more money per year. This guy is huge. But there's a divide here. And so much of it is, I think, is a mindset shift of like, yes, you can be doing it. Yes, you should be doing it. I want to tie this back to the restaurant, because obviously being a content creator, being an influencer, if you want to call it that, is one piece of it. But the whole thing, it's a means to an end. It's to drive traffic and awareness towards your restaurant so that you can do more business, so that place can be as successful as it can be, so that in time maybe it grows, it expands, and whatever that. Talk to me about, let's bring it back full circle, about how that feeds the beast, how that feeds the restaurant.
Oh my gosh. It's insane, man. It is unbelievable. If I told you, you can ask any one of my servers, whether they work 1 day a week or they work 7 days a week, how often people come in from seeing, that you're the guy. Where's the guy from TikTok? Is the guy from TikTok here? Yeah. Some of my most core regulars, and this is funny too, because a lot of people still think TikTok and think younger generation. Well, a year ago, I was on a live stream and I was in the dish tank. We were a little busy, so I was just helping out and goofing around on live stream. And someone's like, hey, his name's Big Country on there. He's like, hey, you should put whiskey in a milkshake. I was like, I was like, all right, you bring up the whiskey, I'll put it in a milkshake. Comes in the next day with a bottle of Jameson, says, hey, I'm Jeff, I'm nice to meet you. They have been some of the best and most loyal regulars ever since. But they found us from him sitting there scrolling on TikTok. What we're thinking about, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? They're like, we should get red naps. And then literally that's how our relationship got built. And they're awesome. I mean, they're very good people, and we have so many people that are locked in like that from finding us on the internet. It's unbelievable. The amount of traffic it brings. And I think the cool thing is like some people will say, we saw you put that spaghetti on a burger yesterday. Would you recreate that for us? And I'm like, I guess we got a little secret TikTok menu now too. So I had some spaghetti left over. I put it on a burger and they loved it. I mean, I'll tie this into, because that same one, they've been core regulars ever since that interaction too. They've been watching our videos, came in, I got to talk to them. Son's a huge Pokemon fan, so am I, clearly, all this stuff. So I always keep cards on the register. If I see a kid's interested in a Pokemon or has Pokemon, I'll go and give them a card. And I don't know, just such a cool interaction. Next time they came in, the kid wrote me, thank you so much for the Pokemon card, and we had such a great time, and you get to see like the time that the dad and the son got to spend together at Naps and how like memorable it was for them. It was so awesome. It was so cool.
So then talk to me about, again, just logistically, getting back to the nuts and bolts. You create content pretty much exclusively for TikTok and then repurpose it on the different platforms?
Yeah, I wouldn't even look at it as like a TikTok video. I look at it as just a video. So I take it, I said CapCut before. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I've used a lot of different ones. I go to CapCut. I go ahead and I edit my video. They have an auto captions button, so you don't have to put the captions. You don't know this, but 20% of TikTok doesn't use audio. So basically, if you don't put captions on there, you're going to lose potentially 20% of your viewers. So I put captions on everything, and they auto-generate it for you. So whether you do a voiceover and put it in there, they'll just take your text, slap it on. You might have to change a word or two, but it's not like having to type out the whole thing and all that tedious stuff.
Yep.
So do that. Simple, clean cuts. I'd say I usually shoot for like 15-second videos, 30-second videos, and minute-long videos, depending on what I need to pull out, right? So like when you're doing the video, you want to make sure that there's not a lot of dead space. You'll see like a lot of cuts in my stuff, but people don't care about cuts because it's basically like when you're watching a movie, every 3 to 7 seconds, you'll see the screen change to a different angle. So This is stuff from movies put into, social. It's just content creation in general. So cut scenes are good. And then, so I make the piece of video and then I'll take the time, I'll edit it. I'll save it on CapCut, and then I go pull up YouTube, post it there. And there's places where you can just post it all at once. But what you'll notice is different platforms at different times of day have different audiences, which means there's a higher fluctuation of people viewing at certain times on different platforms. I've noticed for me personally, and it's going to be different for everyone, me personally, YouTube around 10 o'clock at night, great time. But you do Instagram at 10 o'clock, you get no traction. You do Instagram at 8 o'clock, you get better results than you do at 10. So I try to do everything individually. Sometimes if it's towards the end of the night, it's rolling up on 9 o'clock, I haven't posted anything yet, I'll post out everything that I have. Sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. But I do think being strategic on paying attention to your analytics, they give it to you, so you might as well look at them. I know that my audience is 85% male on almost every platform. So now when I do opening statements, I'm literally working on a video today where I'm going to go, all right, boys, listen up, because I'm being more intentional on who I'm talking to. So I think just looking at it as a short form content versus a TikTok post. But this is a huge but. I know in the next 2 years, hopefully, maybe sooner, that I can actually start building a team around the production side where I'm doing contextual creative per platform. And I know once I get to that point, it's over. Because basically, if I'm creating a piece of thing and I'm pushing it out across all platforms right now and it's working, what if I'm intentional about where I'm posting it? Because there's people that go to LinkedIn for LinkedIn purposes. Right. So creating a piece of content for LinkedIn specifically is better than trying to push everything across. So as I'm at right now, I know where I want to be, but I also have to build a team around that, which I'm working on. I got a couple part-time videographers that are going to start coming out with me, but I'm doing it basically like sold off merit. I was like, if you want to grow and you want to learn how to do this stuff, I'll teach you what I know, where I'm at. Just come film with me, shadow me, and we help each other basically grow, because I'm not in the position to start another company right now. So I'm just going to try to build a team around me and see if anyone's interested. Like I kind of did with Naps. We started with nothing, literally. It's like, when we first opened, and then we've built it up to something awesome. So. Yeah,
for sure. One of the things that I want to make sure to point out here is that, and you've said it a couple of times, and so I just want to highlight it, is that you keep saying, go to the search fields, see what's trending, see what's working. Mm-hmm. That's so crucial, because if there's anything we've seen over the last, not even 20 years, really, since these platforms were launched, that things change. Things are always changing. We always talk about, they changed the algorithm. They changed the algorithm. They always change the algorithm. Pretty much on a daily or weekly basis, something is being tweaked. That's why they got all these developers here working on this. It's constantly evolving. And platforms will rise, platforms will fail, fall, struggle, will shut down. And what platforms succeed, if there's anything we can count on, is change, right? And so the way you do it, what's cool now, what's working now, will not work a year from now. Will not work 5 years from now. We will move on to something else. Our audiences will move on to something else. And I think the most important skill to pick up is this ability to sort of stay present and observe and say, hey, where's the attention? Where are people? We always talk about location. We forget that location now is in our phones. It's right here.
For sure.
So that's where the eyeballs are. It's the same aggravation I have with Uber Eats and DoorDash. And people say, I don't want to be on there. They have these huge commission fees. I said, but still, you'd pay a certain amount of rent. You'd overpay for rent to be at a really prime corner. People pay for great real estate to be on Fifth Avenue or Times Square, or you fill in the blank, to have really great location. You are overpaying for location because you know that's where people are, and yet we don't apply the same sort of mentality to the third-party delivery sites. There are people there. There is purchase intent on those sites. Why would you not want to be on there? I think we just have to get better at actually gaming that system, at utilizing that better, coming up with a strategy for those things. Same thing with social media, with any of these things, right? If there are people there, that's location. You should be willing to put yourself there to get the attention, to capture business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's important to be on all platforms, because there's plenty of people that only use YouTube or only use, my buddy Michael only uses Twitter. He refuses to touch anything else. So you got to reach people where they're at.
So talk to me quickly, because mostly what you've been talking about is organic content, but you talked about paid strategies as well. So talk to me about how you think about organic social and paid social for you personally, for Red Naps.
Yeah, I do both. Most of it at the beginning was organic, and then I started putting away money for marketing so that I can start running ads. You'll notice on my long form content on YouTube, they're all about 7,000 views, and that's all from paid. That was all bringing people through paid. So I think it's not an or situation, is more of an and. Of course. So it's organic and paid. Yep. And I think just learning the ropes, going on YouTube and say, how do I run TikTok ads? How do I run YouTube ads, and doing the work? And if you spend, 10, even 20 hours doing it, probably even 10, you're going to get the gist of it to start, doing it. So I look at it from the perspective of, because this is going to be most people's excuse. Well, how do I know this person came in from that? Well, how do I know? Well, you got to look at it from more of a brand awareness standpoint, right? It takes, the rule of marketing is like the rule of 7, right? It takes about 7 interactions to become comfortable and like and know and trust a brand. So if you see one video on Facebook from me and I don't post anything else, I've got you once. But if I've posted 7 times this week, and there's a chance that you've been on every day, because most people are on social media every day, then you have a chance to hit them. So I like to run both, and I know organic works, and like I said, we're living in the time of organic reach. So if you're scared to put money behind it, you're in the best spot possible. You just have to have a little bit of talent or a little bit of understanding on how a good video is shot. And it doesn't have to be good too. I guess touching back to that, it's, like I said, some videos that I didn't expect to be good came out, did awesome. So I don't know if I answered your question there.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I believe, these are not social media sites. These are advertising platforms. They are. And Facebook was built to be the most, or has evolved into the most sophisticated advertising platform ever created, because of the specificity that we get to target and connect with our people. There are people 50 years ago, 100 years ago, who would die to have that sort of connection, that sort of detailed targeting. So I really do believe in a paid strategy. In fact, I think mainly paid first. That's honestly how I run all of my own personal stuff for me, for sort of my brand, my company. I put out very little organic content anymore. I do put out regular stuff, but I have such a robust paid side to it now, because I just know that that's how I can reach the people who I really need to reach. And the interesting thing, and you said it's about a brand awareness side, is that there are two sides of marketing, two kinds of marketing. There's brand marketing and direct marketing. Brand marketing is the commercial. I always use the 1980s example, right? Paid brand awareness or brand marketing is from the 1980s, a Cheerios commercial, Tony the Tiger, Dove soap. You're just trying to make enough impressions upon somebody so that when they go to the supermarket on Saturday, they remember your brand and pick you up, right? That's we can sort of draw a line to see, hey, how advertising dollars equate to sales in a given market. But then there's the other side, which is also big in the 80s, which is infomercials, right? Which is direct marketing. Call now, but wait, there's more. If you call in the next 10 minutes, they're trying to get a specific sale. And with restaurants, we can do both. right? And we just have to make sure we have the correct expectations for one versus the other. But if what's really interesting, what's really important to you is that you track your ROI, which I think is a good thing, understanding what are the results and what are you doing to get those results, and are you measuring it? Well, that's the best part about the internet, is that you can track every single step. That's why we got pixels and cookies and all of this, right? We can track who saw it, who watched it, how much of it they watched, where they clicked, what site they went to, how far down the funnel they went. Did they opt in? Did they get sent? Did they open the email we sent them? Did they redeem the coupon that we sent them? You can literally track every step of the way, and it's not that hard to do it.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I don't do really any direct sales. I try to leave the direct sales for in-house, we can work on our pitches and stuff like that, upcharging and whatnot. I don't know. I've always felt like for the longest time, marketing's always been buy, and most of my generation is just tired of having it in your face so much. So that's why I like to entertain or to educate somebody versus trying to sell them, I believe converts a lot better. So what I do is with my organic content, I see which ones get the most lift off. Okay, this one did 6.5 million views. I'm going to run ads against that because I know it works.
Yep.
Right. So I use the organic to use that to then push ads on. And even if it's me, so someone guessing a milkshake, right? It's again, for me, it's all about brand awareness because I'm trying to build something for decades to come. So I don't want to monetize my audience. I just want to entertain, and I want to bring them value, and I want to educate them.
Totally.
So I want in 10 years to launch a brand to where everyone's like, oh, now I spent the last decade with this person. Now, this might be a good time to invest or whatever.
So here's the beauty of what you're saying is that you've got really clear results. You've got clear goals that you're going after, and anybody listening to this is going to have different goals. And my pushback on you just a little bit is that I'm always very wary of any of these platforms because they can live or die at any moment, right? We're watching this right now in the age of Twitter. Nobody understands what's going to go on. So if you've built a considerable audience, if that's the way you connect with people, there are people who their primary way of connecting with their audience is through Twitter. Nobody knows what's going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year, 2, 3 years. There's a big question mark around what that is, whether it will survive and what it will become. For me, I always cherish the relationship we have with our customers. The relationship you have in store is one thing. The thing that I always try to drive to, or I always urge restaurant clients to drive to, is an email sign up, because that just allows you, and whatever you have to, however you have to incentivize a sign up. And I agree with you, right? We're tired of being sold to and all of that. But if we provide value, you talked about Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He wrote jab, 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 right hook. It is just as relevant now as it was back when he wrote it. This idea that we have to give before we ask, give before we take. So you can provide value in a bunch of different ways. For me, I want that email address, for example, or that phone number so I can connect with them more deeply. That's for me, my business. That's for most of the businesses that I consult with. That it just means that I'm not reliant on Facebook or TikTok to maintain that relationship. I can bring that relationship, we're at a big party and I can bring it to a side room to have a, different conversation, a private conversation. That's what email is to me, that we can nurture that relationship and become more connected by bringing them along onto a different channel.
Well, that actually made me think of this other thing. It's on topic, off topic. It's a marketing thing. I spent a year and a half trying to make my loyalty system something that's people feel stupid saying no to, right? And I just tried all these different things and implemented, and then I had a click moment. I was listening to Alex Hormozi doing my entrepreneurial studies, and he said something that inspired me to partner with 3 other restaurants in the downtown, or not restaurants, excuse me, 3 other businesses in the downtown area, that when you sign up for our loyalty, you get 4 free things right out the gate from us, plus all the other awesome stuff that's on our loyalty system.
Love it.
And so that's another thing. You guys take that. I feel like that was a great one. Because when I talked to all the other businesses, they were like, I'm on.
Dude, so we talk about culture and we talk about community. They're like big words that get tossed around, but that's community. How do you build community, foster community, nurture the relationships with the other people and businesses in your community? Like that's a no-brainer, and you got to believe they're doing the same thing on their end, right? They're giving love to you. They're sending people down the street to you. I love it.
For sure.
That's great.
So it works out in all facets. But I want to touch back on what you said too, because I believe that every single platform could go to zero at any second. 100%. Right? But that's why I play on all of them. I don't rely on any platform. I use them while they're here, and then I'm also paying attention to all the new stuff that's coming out. Like when Be Real was at the 115th thing, and I saw social networking, I clicked on it, I downloaded it, I started playing around with it, and then it shot all the way up to the #1 downloaded app, and now all the kids are on it, all this. I don't know how I'll implement it for business. I don't know if it'll last, but I play on it every single day, because the more places you are, the more visible you are.
So I want to be really respectful of your time. I want to wrap this up, and I want to give people some sort of actionable steps to take away. Again, we sort of touched on this earlier, but you get started by just getting started, but it sounds easy, and for some people it's not. So how do they make this easy for them? How do they get started?
Yeah, I would literally say, since this is industry related, find a product that you can either carry around that is going to maintain or something like that, and just go talk to strangers close to your area. Start with people you're comfortable with. Just make it seem like you're just walking up to a stranger, even though it's your cousin, and just be like, hey, you want to try this thing? Try to make it real. Don't be like, oh, it's a 10, and make it unauthentic. You got to keep it real. But if you're scared to go ask a stranger, start asking people closest to you, and then work up to that. And I still get mad anxiety. Anytime I go and talk to somebody, I'm primarily an introverted person. I grew up as an introverted person. Most people that see me or talk to me now are like, okay, but it's just inside I'm freaking out when I go have these conversations. But by the end of it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad. But then I go to the next and I'm like, so it's just get out there and do it. And there should be zero excuses to getting started, and just take any one of my video ideas. Like they're free. They're out there for the taking. Just find something, try to replicate it, and keep playing with it until you make your own thing. Yeah, I love it.
The last thing I'll say there, and I'll add this on as an addendum, is that, draw on the power of your team. Is that you got a lot of people, and you got a lot of people there who have ideas, right? Two heads are better than one. Can be creative, can come up with stuff, and it costs nothing to throw out a bunch of bad ideas, right? Throw a bunch of ideas, and all you need is one or two good ones to come out of that. So just a 20-minute brainstorming session with anybody who wants to be a part of that. That's so easy to do, right? We've got downtime in the restaurant. We got a half an hour at the beginning of the day. We can find a half an hour in between lunch and dinner shifts. We can sit down and be like, okay, we're gonna commit to this thing. What do you think we should do? I think it's easier than we give ourselves credit for. Matt, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Where can people go to learn more about you, your restaurant, everything you're up to?
So you can find me at Red Naps Rochester. It's REDKNAPPS Rochester on any single platform. If you got questions about getting started, you can DM me there. I'm happy to do whatever it takes to get the ball rolling for you.
Dude, I love it. Any last words of wisdom before we sign off?
Absolutely. So one thing that I live by is that you do not. Your people do not work for you. You work for them. Once you have that mindset shift, you'll have a stack full of applications like this.
Dude, I love it. I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you hopefully before too long.
For sure, man. I appreciate the time. This is great.
Thanks, buddy. See ya. Now, again, I want to thank Matt for taking time out of his day to sit and chat with me. Tons of insights on this episode. Hope you got a lot out of it. You're going to find all the links in the show notes. And by all means, go check out Matt and Red Naps on TikTok. And by all means, if you think this is right for you, if you think you can dedicate the time to TikTok, this is a platform I think you can be leveraging. I've recently discovered more about it. I'm using it more and more, certainly over the last year, and I would urge all of you to do it too, mainly because there just aren't that many people there, and there are a lot of eyeballs there. So not a lot of restaurants, but plenty of diners, so it's worth considering. In any event, I appreciate you guys being here. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.